Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Unifor Local 88. So nice to see so many faces out here tonight. We're very glad to have the opportunity to provide the community of Ingersoll the opportunity to question the candidates in this year's municipal election. I want to say thank you to those candidates who have chosen to join us this evening, which is all of them, and to you, the audience, for participating as well. We begin this meeting by acknowledging that the land on which we gather in Oxford County sits on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Ojibwe, and Chippewa peoples. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties. As settlers, we're grateful for the opportunity to meet here, and we thank all the generations of Indigenous peoples who have been the stewards of this land for thousands of years. We recognize and deeply appreciate their historic connection to this place. We also recognize the contributions of other Indigenous peoples have made in shaping and strengthening this community in particular, and our province and our country as a whole. At this time, I'd like to call forward Brent Tree, the president of Unifor Local 88.
Hello, my name is Brent Tree. I'm president of Unifor Local 88. On behalf of the Union Politics of Local 88 Committee and the membership of Unifor Local 88, I extend a thank you to the candidates for coming out and participating in tonight's all candidates meeting and providing us all with their views on why they would make a good councillor for the town of Ingersoll. Also, thank you for putting your name forward to run for a council seat, as this job requires a lot of commitment to the public. It is also nice to see the people of the community attending tonight. It has been our privilege of Unifor Local 88 to provide a venue for approximately 15 years now for the community to ask questions and hear from all the candidates. Thank you and enjoy the evening.
Thanks, Brent. So I just have a few things that we do have to go over before we get started this evening. As I said before, thank you all for coming. It's so nice to see this place filled and busy and wanting to talk to the folks that you hope will represent you. As per Unifor's statement on human rights, Unifor will not tolerate any form of harassment, bullying, or violence within the union environment, and therefore we ask that all candidates and the citizens asking the questions of Ingersoll conduct themselves in a polite and respectful manner. And as well, the opinions expressed here this evening are not necessarily those of Unifor Local 88. Sorry, have to say that. I'd like to say a quick thank you tonight to John Payne of Rogers Cable for recording this evening's events for broadcast in the upcoming week or two. This event is not being live streamed, either by Rogers or by Unifor Local 88. However, it has been asked if it is permitted. At this point in time, I am willing to ask all of the members in attendance tonight, those folks who are here, if there is anyone who objects to a member of the audience live streaming this event. So is there anyone who objects to this event being live streamed? Seeing none. If you choose to live stream this event, you're more than welcome to do so, but please do it respectfully. Okay, thank you very much. So, for those who don't know me, I've been doing this a little while. My name is Colleen Wake. I am the chair of the Union and Politics Committee here at Unifor Local 88, and I'm also the recording secretary here at the local. So the other folks that you're going to see tonight is Jeff Lewis. Wave up there. Jeff is also a member of the Union and Politics Committee, and he's learning how to do this so that I can gently step aside someday and retire. At the back of the room, we have a new system. We have timing lights instead of the lovely bells that provide you all with so much entertainment. And our timer this evening is Mike Van Boko, plant chair of Unifor Local 88. You have to wave. No, that's not a wave. Stand up and wave. Good, okay, good. I'd also like to thank an Alan Fisher at the back, for a member of our communications committee. This microphone will be the microphone that you ask your questions of. We will be providing a fresh one of these for each person that comes up to ask the question. Right, just a little bit of COVID protection there that we can make sure we've got in for you. I would also like to really thank tonight Keith Ackworth, part of our communications committee, for giving us a hand with all of this very large amount of AV equipment, and for all of the hard work from the rest of the UPC in pulling this all together tonight. So, how does this work? The format here at Local 88 is generally always the same. All candidates will be given an opportunity to introduce themselves. They will each be provided 2-minute opportunity for introductions. Oh, before we keep going, can everybody please make sure your phones are off or on silent? Awesome. The candidates' names were randomly drawn to determine the order of seating prior to this all candidates meeting that we had at the back. All of our questions here at Local 88 come from the floor. That means they come from you, the people who want to know those answers. When you are presenting your question, please state your name and then ask your question. In the interest of getting to as many as possible and getting as much information as we can to make a valued decision in the vote, we will be limiting the length of the time that you have at the microphone to ask your questions to 1 minute. We also have a kill switch for this microphone. Okay, so please, we understand that there's probably a lot of preamble, but if you could make it very succinct, you have a minute, should be plenty of time to be able to ask your question. After that minute, the microphone will be turned off and you will ask to be taken your seat whether you've asked your question or not. Okay? So due to COVID, as I said, we're being extra cautious. We have Alan placing a microphone cover on the question mic before each question. When you are finished your question, please take the cover with you and bring it up again if you end up getting up to ask another question. That would be great. Also, if you've already asked a question and there are others waiting in line that have yet to get a chance to get to the microphone, please be courteous and allow them the opportunity to ask their question before you step back up to ask another. Okay, just basic respect. We're almost there. Questions will be directed to the candidates in order of random seating. So question one, the first question will be directed first to Shannon, and then it will continue on. Everybody else will have an opportunity to answer. The second one will go to the second person, third one will go to the third person, so on and so forth. But everyone will have an opportunity to answer. I don't think we're going to get through really more than one round of questions, but we're going to try. So once that first round of question has been completed, then you can direct your question to any specific candidate, and we'll continue on from there. I'm not going to hold my breath on that, just so we're clear. So the candidate will have 1.5 minutes to answer, and then they will have 30 seconds to each additional person after that. Questions from the floor will take place up till 8:35. At 8:35, or when we run out of questions, I guess one or the other, each candidate will be provided 2 minutes for their closing remark. And those will be done in the reverse order of the introduction. So we'll start and introduce this way, and we will close out this way, just to make sure we don't get all tangled up. Okay? So timelines will be strictly adhered to. Again, we have the timing lights at the back. Green indicates you can go ahead and talk. Yellow means you have 30 seconds left, and red light means your time is up and the microphone will be shut off. Okay? Okay. So at the conclusion of the all candidates debate, we will have 30 minutes in the hall to have conversation with the candidates. You're welcome to mingle and mix, and there's coffee and Timbits and water at the back as well. Please help yourself. At that time, though, at 9:30, we will ask that everyone leave the building. You're welcome to hang out in the parking lot and have conversations till the sun comes up if you like. However, we do need to close up the hall so that we can be back here to do this again tomorrow night for the mayors and deputy mayors. All right. Just a little bit of housekeeping. If you haven't been here before, the bathrooms are just out that doorway and on your left-hand side. Emergency exits are here, here, and here. So I think we're good to go. Does anyone have any questions before we get? No, not for them, but about the way the night's going to go. Nope. Okay, good. So with that, we'll get started. Give me just a moment to get set up. We'll get the microphone going, and we'll be ready to go. Okay, and we'll hear now from our introductions from our first candidate, Shannon Hudson.
Hold on. Okay.
Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Shannon. I'm honored to have the opportunity to be here tonight to run for council position in this year's municipal election. I am no stranger to Ingersoll. I was born and raised in this amazing small town. I've worked in our community for over 28 years, and I am currently the chronic disease nurse at the Ingersoll Nurse Practitioner-led clinic. I pledge to be a councillor that really listens. I wait the opportunity to work with community members about their visions and aspirations for Ingersoll's future. From local shop owners to volunteers and organizations, these dedicated, driven people deserve our continued support and encouragement to grow and succeed. I look forward to working with a diverse council to make these goals possible. Beyond the multi-use recreational center, I would love to see a focus on seniors' well-being, healthcare, and housing. The future projection of Ingersoll looks fabulous, so let's keep this rolling. I will work to improve the lives of all Ingersoll families, as well as senior residents, by increasing services available. Many seniors want to stay in town close to their families, as this is often a very important part of aging. To relocate related to limited capacity locally should not be the solution. The last 2 years have made it very clear that our healthcare sector has been greatly affected and modified in ways that are just not sustainable, including Ingersoll's. We lack a walk-in clinic, not enough primary care providers. I will work to find ways of obtaining and securing accessible primary health care and programming for all residents. Specifically, the last 2 years, affordable and safe housing has been an issue in Ingersoll. With the support of Council, I will make sure we move forward with sustainable solutions that work for every economic demographic in Ingersoll. Together, let's create a future we can be proud of. Vote Shannon for Council this year. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll hear from Khadija Haliru.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today. I'm Khadija Haliru, and I'm a very proud member of the town of Ingersoll. I moved here 6 years ago, and after living in a small town across North America, from Michigan, Ann Arbor, to Nebraska, Bellevue, Nebraska, to Mission, BC, which is the first place we moved to in 2006, I've contributed in my communities no matter how small time I've spent. And this is the longest I've spent anywhere, trust me. So I'm looking forward to sharing my passion for community service, for volunteerism. I've been a business owner. I'm a professional at work. I'm a supply chain professional. And even in my work capacity, I love putting out fires. Creating solutions is what I'm about. After living in Ingersoll for just about 4 years, coming with my small business, I chose Ingersoll for a reason. Strategically located, beautiful senior community, a very nice retirement place, some youth activity, and again, we had a nice downtown that I thought I could contribute to, help you attract new business, new customers, new tourism aspects to this town. And in my doing so, I've actually come across a lot of red tape, and this is why in listening to people and seeking solutions and asking questions, I really discovered that Ingersoll needs some, new ideas. I'm passionate about the kinds of ideas that I've been a part of in my past, and I hope that I can share that, bring that to the table so we can actually discuss how to move forward. The fact that we have a lot of new housing has allowed us to increase our revenue, and we must be careful how we turn that into helping to support the homeless, because everyone deserves a space. And we have to remember, the more we let go of the homelessness, the more costly it becomes at the end of the day. We already have a youth facility. I hear a lot of complaints. We need structure for our youth. And I see a lot of women who say they don't have choices, daycare. I came from Mission, BC, where I actually started a daycare. It took me 48 hours to start it. And it was the municipality that supported me with the training, with the inspection of my home.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Time is up. Ben Lampkin.
Check. May I stand up? No standing. Okay. Thank you. An honor to be here this evening amongst Ingersoll friends and family and colleagues up here that are interested in the future of our community, as am I. My name is Ben Lampkin. I am fourth, possibly fifth generation Ingersoll resident with a Lampkin name. My family, my nuclear family still lives here for the most part. I am a son, a brother, a dad, uncle, the list can go on. Happy to be a lifelong resident in Ingersoll. I haven't lived all of my days here in town after graduating from Sacred Heart, where I was the grade 7 prime minister. I'll sign some autographs after. I went on to IDCI, where I was a part of the student council executive as well with former mayor Doug Harris, who was very influential, excuse me, and is still a friend of mine to this day. Went away to school. I graduated from the University of Guelph with an undergraduate degree in economics in 2003. It was a few years ago. I have some experience working in retail finance. I have experience working in retail banking and investments and credit. I worked for both of the major local automotive manufacturers in the area throughout the years. I'm getting to the end. Yes, my card has my information. I'd be happy to chat with anybody further about my credentials and who I am and why I'm focused on the future of Ingersoll. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Pauline White.
Hi there, my name is Pauline White. Thank you to Local 88 for hosting this event and also the Woodstock-Ingersoll District Real Estate Board. I'm Pauline White, and I'm going to be a councillor who is honest and fair. These are two traits that I inspire in myself in my daily activities. There's no curtain to hide behind with me. I will listen without judgment and listen with empathy. I will be transparent in the decisions that I'm making and fair during the process. I am hardworking. Multitasking is my middle name. Give me something to do, and I still want more to do. As a working parent raising 3 children in extracurricular activities, I was always able to still find my own leisure activities. And a huge shout out to Anne on my hockey team that just showed up. And I want to be a voice for you and members that came today with an importance. You love your town. That's why you live here, and that's why you showed up today. I believe wholeheartedly that I will be a candidate that is a voice for you, Ingersoll. I sincerely care about your issues, your concerns, and your joys. If elected, I will prioritize the strategic master plan, community service master plan, all the previous developments that council have already done. Good job there. The master plan relates to parks, culture services, facilities. Together we can match all the pillars and all the targets and all the goals. So with your vote, I can help get that there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And next we'll hear from Mike Bowman.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I would like to thank you for taking the time to attend this evening. Some of you may already know who I am, but for those new to the community, let me introduce myself. My name is Mike Bowman. I'm a candidate for Ingersoll Town Council. For all my life, I have called Ingersoll home. I am married to a loving and supportive wife, Charlene. I am co-owner of a family business in the downtown for over 30 years. In addition to Town Council, I serve on a number of town committees, focus groups, and maintain an active role in the community. I'm a charter member of the Museum Advisory Board, where I currently serve as chairman. As a councillor, I can say that there have been some major accomplishments take place over the past 4 years. Certainly, the fight against the landfill was front and center. I am pleased to say we did it. We stopped the landfill. Boundary adjustment. I am proud to say that I was part of the team that successfully acquired new land for new growth. We now have ample industrial property to support our needs over the next several years. We have also been successful in selling part of Clark Road industrial property, which translates into future employment and prosperity. Financial responsibility. Over the past 4 years, we have not incurred any new debt, while continuing with capital projects and increasing our revenues to fund future needs and obligations. This strategy has put Ingersoll in a good financial shape. I will continue to take a responsible approach towards our budget. There are also other goals foremost in my mind: affordable housing, the downtown, seeking federal and provincial funding for a new multi-use recreational facility, finding solutions for the ongoing social issue of homelessness and low-income housing, and of course, community diversity. Over my lifetime, I have seen many changes come to this town. Today is no different. We are seeing our town grow with new people calling Ingersoll home. This is why we need to better understand the needs and wishes of all residents as we strive to make Ingersoll a harmonious community. This is a snapshot of myself. Now let's hear from you.
Thank you. Rick Hughes.
Good evening, everybody. Glad to see so many people out here this evening. Boy, the more you do these, it doesn't get any easier. I feel for the new candidates coming on, trying to get elected. Good luck to you all. It's good to see the interest in making the town run the way people want to see it. I've had the pleasure of meeting many of the Ingersoll residents over the past few years, but for those who don't know me, I was elected in 2018 to my first term of council. I moved here over 30 years ago, made roots, and raised a family. Over this time, I have volunteered for different organizations such as Ingersoll Soccer Club, the Architectural Conservancy of Ontario with regards to the heritage buildings and the Carnegie Library, and the Ingersoll District Chamber of Commerce, to name a few. In my first term, I set out a number of goals for myself to help move Ingersoll forward. One of the goals was to maintain an affordable and sustainable property tax increases. Property taxes have been held to a minimum increase over the past 4 years. Number 2, develop and service our industrial lands to help better diversify our employment opportunities and access to jobs. This was done. We now have a large corporation here that is building a huge facility with excellent job opportunities and a good job diversity marketplace. Another part of the property has also been sold to a developer who will be building industrial commercial plaza, so there will be more square footage available for different manufacturing facilities or smaller manufacturing facilities, which in turn will also increase the opportunities for jobs. Number 3 was to ensure that we as a town do our best to preserve our heritage buildings. As a result, a committee of council was formed, the Ingersoll Heritage Committee.
Thank you. Sorry, the red light did come on. Gord Lesser.
Thank you very much. Good evening. My name is Gord Lesser. I have lived in Ingersoll since 1995 and run a successful downtown business. I've had the privilege of serving as one of your town councillors for the past 16 years. Over that time, Ingersoll has certainly grown and changed. We have all seen the new homes sprouting up and all of the new people coming to live in our town. Well, why are they moving here? One of the reasons is Ingersoll is still a very friendly and welcoming town, which is something I think we should all be very proud of. Yes, you can criticize me and say, Gord, sometimes the town may have missed the mark on something, and I'll say, yes, you know what? I'm a human being, and sometimes we make mistakes. But over the last 4 terms that I've been a councillor, I've also always said, talk to me. Let me know what you feel the town can improve on. This has always been my mindset, and this is something that I will continue proudly over the next term of council. The diversity that has been happening here is a great and wonderful thing that I feel we need to embrace. By talking to each other, let's keep making Ingersoll even more inclusive. Now, over the past 16 years, I've pushed for I've pushed for us to get our finances and infrastructure in order, to the point that actually in the last 2 years, although small, there has been a slight municipal decrease. Everyone also worked together and we stopped a dump. We completed the land deal, so now there's room for the town to continue to grow. And as I already stated, our finances and infrastructure are currently in good shape. So I feel now is the time to look at the next 4 years and an opportunity where, as a community, let's use this time to continue to encourage change and growth. Personally, I will embrace those conversations and to continue to focus on what is best for the town of Ingersoll. My experience and dedication to the town of Ingersoll, I hope, will allow me to serve you well again for the next 4 years.
Thank you. Henny Ahrens.
Good evening. My name is Henny Ahrens. I work part-time at my home office for my husband's real estate firm, but my passion is working in my basement as a fiber artist with the weaving, sewing, knitting, whatever I can get in. Okay. What I envision for Ingersoll is a vibrant community. From the downtown core to the communities we live in, to the parks and the trails we walk and that we all use, right up to the edges of our town, not the downtown, but the whole community. While talking to people, the comment I hear most is we need change. I think we need to investigate what people mean by we need change. Change is different for everybody. I would like to be part of that change. I would like to hear people's ideas and concerns for Ingersoll and take those thoughts and make that a goal for the next few years. I don't want to come to council with my own agenda, but I want to make your ideas and your concerns the agenda. I'm not a person with a lot of words, but my strength is thinking things through and making sure the job gets done. I will work to make Ingersoll the place everybody wants to be at. My job will allow me the time and the flexibility to work for the citizens of Ingersoll. Thank you.
Thank you. And Broderick Carey.
Everybody, and welcome to the all candidates meeting. I'm glad to see so many people come out to hear what we have to say, and more importantly, for us to hear what you have to say and what questions you have put before us. I've been a longtime resident of Ingersoll since grade 7. I graduated from VMS and IDCI. My parents were here, my children are here, my grandchildren are here. So we have deep roots in this community. And over the years, I've had an opportunity through my employment to participate in many things. I've attended a lot of the town council meetings over the years, but just not the ones in Ingersoll. I've also attended all the other 8 councils in Oxford County, not just as somebody who's watching, but somebody that also is presenting to the councils on issues of concern for working people that are very important to them, on health care, on trade deals, on so many different items that are important to us. And I've learned over the years the importance of listening to people, working towards and finding solutions that are important to people, and if given the opportunity to work for and behalf with you at council, I'd be very honored to do that. I look forward to hearing your questions tonight, and that's it for me.
Thank you. Evan McHugh.
Hello, my name is Evan McHugh, fellow Ingersollians. I just want to start off by saying my family's called this home for multiple generations. My last name is probably one a lot of you are familiar with, hopefully for good reasons and not all for bad. And I'm proud to say that my family has chosen this as its location, and I'm proud to say my family is doing the same. We actually welcomed my second child. He's hiding in the back there right now with my wife, just over this last week. It's this long-term connection to the community and this area that has motivated me to enter local politics myself. Personally, I have a connection and experience within the local industry, small business and along with the agricultural community, as well as working for the town in my youth. I worked for the Victoria Park Community Center and know the vital importance that is to our local community and its members. This gives me unique insights when addressing both existing and prospective issues that are going to face our town over the next few years, specifically with respect to both business and community services, along with many social concerns facing our growing populations. Along with this, it's important for us to support our local community and business owners at a municipal level specifically. And this needs to be appropriately balanced and by protecting and developing our locality with a special appreciation for both the local schools and the local hospitals, something that they educated me, and I was just there using the local emergency room within the last week. I'm confident these and many more things can be accomplished, all while maintaining an appreciation for our national and our small town culture, and that is really why we have always chosen this community ourselves, is because of the culture and the small town opportunities that it provides. It's my belief that our community can be successful while ensuring the government minimizes costs on taxpayers, and this requires balanced and practical management with the larger economic and inflation concerns facing communities across the nation. If you guys are having to tighten your belts, unfortunately, sometimes city government needs to do the same. And along with my financial acumen, I believe in shared
Thank you. Christy Van Kooten Bossens.
Thank you. Good evening. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Local Unifor 88 and the Woodstock Ingersoll and District Real Estate Board for hosting this evening so that you, the residents, can come and hear who we are and ask the questions. My name is Christy Van Kooten-Bossens, and I have been one of 5 councillors for the past 16 years. And I want to thank you for the honor of serving you. I grew up here with my parents, Gary and Lorna, and my brother, BJ. I attended school here, Princess Elizabeth, VMS, and IDCI, and then went to Western University. I married the love of my life, Rob Bossens, and we bought a house here, and we just welcomed our daughter, Addison, in 2019. I've been a part of the Kiwanis Club of Ingersoll for the past 20 years and have served as president twice and secretary for almost 5 years. And when not in those positions, I was a part of the board of directors. Kiwanis serves this community in many ways which most people don't know. We support the nutritional and library programs at our local schools, Stitch, Coats for Families, but we also support a lot of different families with children who have special needs and are unable to find the funding that's required through our provincial and federal governments. The dump, we fought it together. We won. We now need to stay on top of it and make sure it doesn't come back. Financially, we are on a path that is sound and will lead us into that future that we all want. Was it a tough past? Yes, it was. And again, we always tried to do what was in the best interest of our community to get us where we needed to be.
Yellow light.
This term, I joined the Senior Center as a council rep, and it has been one of the most rewarding committees to be a part of. Great people serve our seniors there. COVID has not been kind to any of us, but this center did what they could at all times to serve the 50-plus community and give them an outlet when there was not much that could be done. I look forward to finishing in my last 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. And Dixie Bow.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming this evening. I am both nervous and excited. This is a great crew to follow up after. I have been living in Ingersoll for about 10 years. I am a mother of 4. I am a home educator of 3 of those, with 1 currently in public school at IDCI. Ingersoll by far has been one of my favorite places to live. I've lived in several cities around southern Ontario, and landing here has been really great for all of us. I do see that with having teenagers and we live close to Fusion, I see a lot of need for reconnection in the community, for opportunities for the youth of this community who are our future, to learn more things outside of the box of what's taught in the public schools, to learn things that gives them a basis, for moving through life, and how to share that within the community and how to grow together in that. I have a background in permaculture design, and part of what I'm looking at is revitalization of the town itself and using, working with nature and sustainable projects that will make Ingersoll itself more self-reliant, and it will also bring beauty and joy to the people of the town. And I'm really excited to hear more about the questions that people have, and I think that's it. Thank you very much, everyone.
All right, thank you. Now, before we move on to the next part, all the candidates at the front, take a big, deep breath. You made it through the first introduction parts. You're going to be just fine. Couple quick, thank you. Yes, absolutely. Couple of quick reminders for our candidates. Please make sure that the microphone is relatively close so that we can hear you. People do want to hear what you have to say. If you could make sure you remember that it's directional mic, you want to talk directly into it, that's great. And try to refrain from the banging on the tables. That doesn't, it can hurt the ears at the back. All right, so at this time we will call upon the folks in the audience. Who has a question for our candidates? Come on up to the microphone, please. State your name. Yes? Yep. Honestly, you don't have to put your hands up. You just got to come up to the microphone. We're all good. So if you could state your name, and you have 1 minute to ask your question.
Martin, I have a question that I've asked every year that there's an election. When are you going to get affordable housing for all of us gray-haired people?
Thank you for your question. So we'll start this round with table one, with first position. So Ms. Hudson.
Am I on? Hi, Bev. Thanks for the question. That's exactly one of the things that I'm looking forward to doing, Beverly. With a background in healthcare, I am a listener, I'm a researcher, I'm here to observe, and I want to hear from everyone the best way we can go about doing this. I honestly feel that people shouldn't have to move away from their hometown. I have parents that just had to move to Woodstock a month ago, and it's heartbreaking for all of us, even though it's 15 minutes away. It's not something I want to see happen. So yeah, I'm going to work really hard at trying to make that happen so that people can stay in their hometown. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Halliroo.
Hi, is it Bev? Well, Beverly. Well, my whole idea of trying to fight for the homeless and the home housing crisis is because I primarily see that we did have more housing.
Okay, I can manage it. Thanks.
We'll fix that in a second. Just go ahead.
Can you hear me now? Yeah. Okay. So the housing crisis is one of my primary key areas that I'm really passionate about, because I do see that the community is a very wonderful retirement community, but how do we expect that when they don't have a place to age into? I have looked into this primarily because I'm very interested in it. I've actually signed up for the new federal government program. Most times we are passionate about something or we're concerned about it, but we don't really know how to go about it. I actually looked into this, and we have a new program where the federal government is hoping to support municipalities to create extra spaces. And one of the programs is to actually have us age in place, where you are allowed to invest in a room or a small, basement. If you do not have it, there's grants that will be coming up. One of the reasons that spurred me to run for council is because that's going to be on the table in the next 4 years. A way that we can actually get residents applying for that, getting the support to turn a backyard, kind of loft into a space.
Thank you. Mr. Lampkin.
Hello. Just a few quick things I forgot to mention before. I wanted to recognize the existing council. I think they did a fantastic job, specifically fighting the landfill. And part of the reason we're here to move forward is because of their contributions. Time's going to go very quick here. Thanks to my Aunt Bev for the question. I have a personal interest in seniors housing. We have rental units coming up on Thames South. I believe condominiums could possibly be the future if you look at people leaving from a single family detached. And apartments, as you know, can't be necessarily designated by age groups. And the other situation you want to look at is healthcare beds, and what are we looking to do to attract healthcare beds to Ingersoll specifically, so our parents and grandparents can stay nearby. Thank you.
Johnson. Ms. White.
Great question, as I myself are aging, as we all are. There's something, maybe we change the bylaws, make it so people can have that granny suite in their home without too much paperwork, permits, keeping everybody safe, and making that accessible, where you can actually reside with your family member and make that change for your basement, maybe a garage space, that sort of thing. It is something to think about when you're town shopping, and that's why I ended up moving to Ingersoll, because there was so much to offer here. So let's move forward with everything that we already have.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Bowman.
Thank you for the question, Bev. As you can see, I'm quickly becoming one of those gray-haired people, too. Anyway, seniors housing has been something that we've been struggling with for a long time. I think we're seeing it start. We've seen the transformation of the VMS school into a seniors housing, and we're also seeing what's happening on Thames Street. So I hope that in the future, we'll be able to continue to woo some of these developers to come in and put up affordable housing and get condominiums or apartments that are available for rent so that our seniors don't have to move away. I too have seen a lot of my friends and family members have to move away because there was no place to live once they sold their properties. So I think it's something we definitely are going to keep a close eye on and work closely with in the future. Thanks, Bev.
Thank you. Mr. Hughes.
Thank you very much. Yes, great question. That is asked a lot, and you're absolutely right. There's a lot of a mass exodus of seniors leaving Ingersoll towards Woodstock because they have the availability of the condominiums, apartments, and rental units. There is a county housing plan that is actually coming forward in the next while that will be looking at the allowance of smaller, if you want to call them granny suites, just the smaller accessible living that people will be able to put into their existing properties. So that should hopefully, number one, alleviate some of this issue. Number two, as Councillor Roman just said, there is a lot that is happening now with some development, the development of the retirement home on 10th Street South, and then the new buildings that are going to be going in at the golf course. There's some great development going on in there in the next few years. So I know it's...
I need to be on. Thank you. Mr. Lesser.
This is the only problem of sitting beside two existing councillors. They're saying some of the things I wanted to say, but just to say we've also been working very hard as a town for people who want to put in a granny flat or have somebody move in to do the adjustments. When you look at the system actually moves fairly quickly. We do not have an onerous system when it comes to permits, that sort of thing. A lot of times it's because people show up and they are unprepared with the information that they need for us to be able to say yes right away. And that is a communication issue that I will say that we have been working on very much with the town, so that when you want to do something like that or any other projects, we will be able to give you the information much quicker so you know what to show up with, that we will need to be able to approve your permits. And I'm out of time.
It didn't go red yet. You still have a moment, but that's okay. Thank you. And Ms. Ahrens.
I recently had to move my parents out of the community they had invested their time and their efforts into because there was not suitable housing for them. And I think it's very important that we can keep our seniors in the community they live in. I would put that as a forerunner for a goal to achieve in our community.
Thank you. Mr. Carey.
Number 9, a lot of good points have already been made, and all things that we can look at on how we can move forward in helping our seniors stay in town and find affordable housing. And I think some of the other part of the solution is we need to work more with the upper levels of government to see what they can do to help us to build homes that we know that our seniors can afford, that other people can afford, and we don't have the homeless issue that we see throughout every community in this country. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McHugh.
Question, Beverly? I just wanted to start off by saying something I've noticed locally in the town is that housing is not for a lack of want, but just for a lack of ability to actually get these projects done and completed and attract that local development. And council has done a great job as far as attracting in developers to our community, but where I feel there are areas to be improved upon is our actually working with the local owners to provide those types of establishments now. It's something that we have avoided with, and in terms of bringing development into the city, rather than focusing on the existing infrastructure, the people who are already here and support our local establishments, and allowing them to build those facilities for us to take advantage of.
Thank you. Ms. Van Kooten-Bossens.
Thank you. This has been a question, I think, 16 years that I have been sitting up here that has been asked, and it is something that we have struggled with. We have been successful in this last 4 years of getting some more. Is it enough? No. We need to continue. We need to continue with our county council rep. We have one, and that is the mayor, who goes and sits at that board. So that is a great question, Beverly, to pose to those candidates tomorrow night as well. Affordable, I like to think of it as attainable. Sometimes people, what's affordable for me, what's affordable for you, or the person sitting next to you is not the same. So more, I think we need to look at not just affordable, what's attainable. And we need to continue to work with our developers and try to get them to see what we need in this community. We have to just keep moving on that one. And thank you, Beverly, for bringing it back to the forefront again.
And Ms. Bowden.
Thank you for the question. There we go. In the past 10 years, I've heard this question to pretty much everybody. It's a regular thing. I've seen a lot of changes, actually, like you were saying, recently with new buildings going up and whatnot. It's a beginning, and I think we're on that uptick for that. We'll keep going forward with it, and it's not just seniors, but it's housing for everybody in general, which has become very tight for most people over the last couple of years. So definitely some changes with that. Lots of good ideas here. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. And before we get to the second question, Aunt Beverly, if I could have you come and remove your little cover off your microphone, that would be great. Or we'll make Alan do it. It's okay. I got it. Perfect. Good man. Do we have any other questions from the floor? Can't tell if anybody's going to get coffee, if they're going to get Timbits or...
Oh. Hi, my name is Shelley Van Veen. I'm newer to the community. My family moved here in 2019. I was really devastated last year when the council voted against having a walk-in clinic in town. I have a young son. If he needs health care, I have to drive over an hour to our former community to get him seen. You know, in the one time in the 3 years we have had to go to the emergency room because he was ill, we were told, don't even bother, it's going to be so long, it's not even worth your time. So we drove to Woodstock and we're seen in an hour and home within an hour. For those on the council now, I'd like to know why you don't think that's an important issue enough to have voted support for that. For those who are looking to gain council, I want to know what you will do to fix that. Thank you.
Thank you. So as our outline dictates, this question will first be directed to Ms. Hallieru. And you guys are going to share a microphone so that we can hear everything you all say.
Thank you so much for that question. That is indeed one of the past events that really was heartbreaking to see that we lost that opportunity. At the same time, people thought that we had kind of misplaced our priorities because there was this renovation going on and there was this reason that this was going to be too costly. We have to remember we're not just a community that needs medical services, we can also use it to attract people to come to our town, just like we're going to others. And that trickles into other areas like support for small business and local, activities within our town. So yes, I'm going to focus on how we can get a medical office to this town. There are a lot of doctors across Ontario that would love to get a start in a small town, and we're just not having even enough spaces to actually assign them to.
Okay. Mr. Lampkin.
Hello. Shelley, thank you for the question. Sorry to hear of your personal trials and tribulations here in Ingersoll. I don't know that I am the most knowledgeable person on the subject. It makes me think about what the funding formula is and how come it's not already here. I did have a conversation with one of our other candidates up here in regards to this circumstance. Again, I'm not familiar with all of the details. What I walked away from in that conversation was the question of temporary funding being requested by the town. My experience with the medical system in Ingersoll, in particular Alexandra Hospital, has been really a positive one. temporary changes are never temporary, so what is the funding equation and what does it need to be? Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. White?
Sorry, Shirley, that you had to deal with that. When I found out about the walk-in clinic not being allowed to come to town, it was one of the reasons I decided to run for council, because it just didn't make sense that that was the decision. So I have to find out why that decision was made, and then hopefully correct that decision once you look into the reasons why that wasn't allowed. Because common sense says a walk-in clinic, if they want to have a walk-in clinic in a town, we should make that happen, especially after COVID. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bowman?
Thank you, Shelley, for that question. And I'm sorry to hear about your circumstances. For me, it wasn't a decision that I was against it. It was a decision where I wanted to see a term. It was a trial. My biggest concern was that if we did a trial, then it would continue. And all of a sudden, what should be provincially funded through our medical system would end up being on the taxpayers of Ingersoll. So again, it wasn't that I was against it, it was just the fact that I wanted to see it be funded where it should be funded and not be on our backs.
Thank you. Mr. Hughes?
Thank you for the opportunity to answer that question. Very similar to Councillor Bowman, it was we needed to see a term of funding. But having said that, I am a member of the Physician Recruitment and Retention Committee here in Ingersoll. And we are limited to the number of doctors that we can have in each family health organization, with overflow that can go to the nurse practitioner-led center. They did have requests for funding already into the Ministry of Health at that time. It just was not had not been answered. I talked with the Minister of Health back in January of last year at ROMA, Rural Ontario Municipal Association. They're well aware of the situation in regards to healthcare in underserviced areas, and we are continuing to work with the Ministry of Health to try and bring more money and more positions here in Ingersoll.
Thank you. Mr. Lesser?
Thank you, Shelley, and sorry about the issues that you had. Excuse me, sorry. My feeling was actually I wanted to give it a 2-year trial to see what would happen. The concern was, can we end it after 2 years? Eventually, at some point, this is a provincial matter, and the province has to step up for it to help to pay for it. Either that, or if this is what the people of Ingersoll want, I hate to say it, it would require a fair tax increase to be able to sustain it. So that would be the other matter that we would have to deal with. Does everybody out there willing to pay their share to maintain it if the province won't step up? But as I say, initially I was hoping we were going to be able to fund it for 2 years to see if there was a need for it. Hopefully that would have given us enough information to go to the province and then have them turn around and help us with some money in these matters.
Thank you. Ms. Ahrens?
Well, Shelley, I'm sorry that you experienced this. I do understand that it is a provincial matter, not a town of Ingersoll matter, that because of funding and that. I am glad to hear that the council has still got things on the table and still working to try and accomplish these goals.
Thank you. Mr. Carey?
I don't know where we begin with trying to fix healthcare. There's the nurses' issues that we have to solve, that they are treated fairly, respectfully, and also open up more training centers so we can get more nurses trained and more doctors trained, so we have the capacity in each community to have doctors once again for everybody that needs a doctor, so we don't need a clinic. Because if we start opening things up, we're going to be pulling what resources we have in our current hospital system out of that system, and then we have a problem at the hospital system, and it's just going to make it worse. We have to work together, and we have to press these federal and provincial governments to make sure they fund it properly so we can have the health care that we deserve and we need. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McHugh.
Thank you for the question, Shelley, and condolences again on the problems you've had dealing with the local health care in our community. I'm a huge believer in local services. As I mentioned previously, I was just having to use the services at the local Alexandria Hospital, and it's something I take pride in knowing that we have these local establishments. But as the previous councillors have stated, it's funding issue and it's capacity issue. So we've scaled up the size of our community over the last few years, and as that reason, a lot of our local services are failing to meet that demand. That is just a concern that we will have to address and face and deal with head on over the next few years. There's a variety of ways to do that, but it is ensuring that we work with both the federal and the provincial governments, because this is their issue to actually partake, and we would not want to be raising your tax rates to provide these services or cut services somewhere else where you guys enjoy them in order to provide this alternative service.
Thank you. Ms. Van Kooten-Bossens.
Thank you. Shelley, thank you for the question. I was one of those ones that sat at the table and we did not vote for it, and it is because of the provincial funding. It's provincial. I wouldn't want to put that on a tax base for the town of Ingersoll. I was one of those people, though, was without a doctor as well. I sit on the physician recruitment. I got onto that committee because I didn't have a doctor as well. I understand. I'm very proud that we've managed to get 3 new doctors into this town. Is that enough? No. And I have fought. I said right from the beginning, they said, oh, just a couple. No, we need 5. We have an aging doctors in our community, and they are all going to retire, and we need to continue to get more doctors into this town and be able to have it so that you don't have a problem with your health care. I'd love to talk to you more about that afterwards, though, because I'm going to run out of time. So thank you, Shelley.
Thank you. Ms. Bowden.
Thank you very much for the question. My experience in terms of doctors is that I have not had a family physician since the year 2000. Since that time, I have used walk-in clinics. I have used nurse practitioner clinics, which were really great and were very accessible back when I first didn't have a doctor. And the other option is the emergency clinic, which I have also used on several occasions. Walk-in clinics are very busy, packed, like we've said. I mean, I can just imagine what it'd be like in our town. I do think there's a need for this. There may be other ways to go about it, you know, but the funding obviously is one of the biggest things, but there's lots of ideas for that again. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Hudson.
Hi, Shelley. Like you, I was also very disappointed that the walk-in clinic was not voted for. I do realize it is a provincial issue. At the time, it was requested for a $60,000 approximately for a 1-year trial. And with the ministry, if that could have been proven that that trial was successful, the ministry most likely would have provided the money for the future. So just trying to get that 1 year in would have been a huge obstacle. So yeah, I really wish we could have voted that in, and I will work very hard to make sure that that can happen. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
What is your position on maintaining the current green space in the town of Ingersoll from future development into houses?
Did I get it right, Brent?
And that question now first go to Mr. Lampkin.
Thanks very much for that question. I like that question. It's in line with kind of the reasons that I'm running. I am somebody that is recreation focused in my life. If it's not fun, I'm probably not doing it. Other than the dishes, I take care of those. There is a new bylaw, actually, I just saw in the newspaper that lands at the end of my driveway that I don't know a whole lot about. And it was speaking actually to, it's a new amendment to a bylaw regarding designated green space. So there's potentially some information there that I'm not yet aware of. I don't agree specifically with taking our parks and building houses on them. I think looking forward, we are doing better to work with developers to plan, and I've specifically seen the plans for the south side of Clark Road for the Ingersoll Golf Course, the trail network, and what have you. Yeah, we do want infill, not in the place of our parks specifically. I use the parks. My son is 8. It's the kind of thing that I value in Ingersoll. We still have green space. If you go to a larger community, the green space is worth even more to that community. We're a growing concern, so let's stay future focused and not eat up that green space with housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. White?
Use buildings that are not being used, like the school that got converted into an apartment building. That was a great idea. It was already there. So there must be residential or land in town that's not designated green space, that there's other buildings, other sites that maybe then could become residential, as opposed to if they were businesses before and that business isn't successful now. Maybe we talk to downtown business owners and they're going to rent out living space instead of getting a store on the downtown core, but I would not take green space away.
Thank you. Mr. Bowman?
Thank you, Brent. I too like green space. I'm going to just briefly touch on it. I'm going to leave a little bit for the other members to speak on. Infill is something that the province is promoting, so it is something that people do look at. I do agree with maybe infilling where there is existing buildings and taking and converting other buildings into living spaces. But I think that's why we've taken and made it a point to have the developers give us green space when they build subdivisions, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Make sure that they do give us green space, and green space that's usable for the public and not just the unwanted land. So I think that's something that we're going to keep an eye on in the future, and as I say, we've been very diligent in making sure we get our green space.
Thank you. Mr. Hughes?
Thank you, Brent, for the question. Great question. I know that was a big concern back a few years ago in regards to Kensington Park and that. That was an idea floated by staff a number of years ago in a situation where an opportunity to offer affordable housing to the community. We can't tell a developer that if he buys property that he has to reduce all of his rates down so that he has to build affordable housing. That's all funded. The town was looking at opportunities to offer developers an opportunity so that they could build affordable housing. It was an idea that was floated. It has not gone anywhere since that initial report. So there is no threat to Kensington Park being turned into an apartment building or the 2 lots on, I think it's Thomas Park, back up in that development, or back up in that subdivision there, having housing building on.
Thank you. Mr. Lesser?
Thanks for the question, Brent. A lot of it sort of been said. Kensington Park, again, was an idea that was floated because there was a possibility of affordable housing. Personally, I don't like seeing us lose our green space. I would rather see us keep it. It is nice to have it. It's not something that, as farmers always say, you can't grow more land. But to say I would never sell green space, I'll never take that stance. If we get an extremely good offer, we just heard about housing for seniors. If we had a very good offer that we knew was going to be good and affordable, and we had to lose a little bit of green space to make that happen, it is something I would consider. Let's put it that way and take a look at the plan that's being offered to us.
Thank you. Ms. Ahrens?
Green space is important to me. It's good for family life, good for community life, but we as a community got to make sure we use this green space so that we can prove that it is a valuable space. So the onus isn't only on council, but it's also on the citizens to use it fully.
Thank you. Mr. Carey?
Thanks for the question, Brent. If we're talking about somebody that has an extra large lot and wants to sell it off, I don't see a problem with that. But for selling off our parks, our trails, and all those other areas that we love and enjoy to walk through or take our children or grandchildren to, those need to stay so we can utilize them and enjoy life in Ingersoll, because it's a great little town.
Thank you. Mr. McHugh?
Thank you for the question, Brent. And I certainly believe in protecting our green space along with our local parks. My daughter is pretty partial to the slides, to be honest with you. And the reason we need to do that is because we are a growing community. We do have a lot of young families that have recently moved to the areas, so protecting these parks is going to be of vital importance for them, because it is actually why they want to be in this community, because there is such access to these resources that they can take advantage of. A way to actually do this is through providing multi-level development. And so that's something I spoke on earlier, is partnering with the localities and the people that already own our local businesses and providing them opportunities to retrofit those areas to allow for senior living or more affordable living, or depending on the situation that is required within that general area. And then having a council that's willing to go to bat for those business owners when they come into battle with flood zoning and other restrictions that are preventing them from developing what is a strong available core for our community.
Thank you. Mrs. Van Kootenbosens?
For the question, maintaining our current green space, couldn't agree more. We need to maintain it, absolutely. I do agree with Mr. Lesser and the other councillors. I'm not saying that I wouldn't if something came along such as affordable housing. That I've heard time and time again from all of you. Affordable housing is something that you need, absolutely. So can I take a clear stance and say, no, I wouldn't? It becomes what is in the best interest of the entire town. We have to own it. It can't be a piece of land that we don't own. And I'm gonna be the one in the room. I'll touch on the space across on Wanham Street. I think it's Wanham Street. Anyway, I'm gonna run out of time. That parcel of land we don't own, and if we fight it, we're putting tax dollars against something that we're going to lose. So we have to use the space that we have. We have a lot of it. I'm gonna just.
Thank you. Ms. Bowden?
Thank you very much. I do agree with everybody else here that there is plenty of opportunity in buildings in the town that are already there to be transformed into housing different things. Green space is very important. It's a vital component to every community, to happy communities. And not only green space doesn't just mean grass. It doesn't just have to be an open field of grass. That land can actually be used to create many opportunities in terms of education, community service, through developing food forests and whatnot that benefit the town, benefit the children, benefit everybody who lives in that area without taking away something that brings, joy and happiness to everybody around it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hudson?
We good? Honestly, I feel that riverfronts, parks, and green spaces should remain just that. I do feel we have an opportunity to give incentives to developers that are coming into our town to work with us and insert green space into these developments that we're asking them to make for us for affordable housing. We can put green spaces into those places while they're being built and keep what we have currently. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Halliroo?
Thanks for your question. And what I would do to maintain green spaces, propose that we actually put a bylaw that we don't touch them for the next 50 years, because that makes us creative about how to use our existing spaces. When we talk about solutions to problems, it's not just what we focus on, getting funding or getting access to use what we have as our opportunity, empty space. We actually have private citizens with almost acres and acres within their own private properties that if you gave them an opportunity to carve out and resell and build affordable housing, there are happening in municipalities across even Woodstock. We count trees, we zone areas, we get the engineers to make sure that that can take a new place or new home and leave our parks, leave our rivers, because again, these generational changes happen. Kids need these parks forever, and we have activities that we can use to, create vibrancy in the community. We cannot afford to lose more and more green spaces because we currently have enough. If we put it all together, it's enough to actually help us add new living spaces, which is what.
Thank you. We're going on to the next question now.
My name is Gary Van Kooten. I've lived in this town since 1975. It's wonderful to hear all your thoughts about the elderly, which I happen to be part of. My question is, and it relates to, what are you thinking of doing and providing for the youth that are coming and they're going to be our future?
Thank you for the question. We will be starting with Ms. White.
It's generations like you that think of the next generation. So thank you very much for that. I feel Ingersoll does a lot for the youth. I used to work at Fusion Youth Center, and I have talked to people decades after their time at Fusion, and it was life-changing for them. They had all kinds of challenges, not all of them, some of them, but for the people that I have reconnected with through the center, seeing them in town and their stories and their personal growth just from their experience at Fusion. So I think that Ingersoll does a good job looking after our youth already. The loitering that happens across the street is no different than the loitering that happens at the high school. And if the teachers and principal at the high school can't deal with their own students loitering and hanging around, how is downtown on the main drag with no supervision going to have any effect on the kids that are hanging around downtown? So keep up the good work, Fusion.
Thank you. Mr. Bowman?
Thank you. Pauline, I think you hit part of the nail on the head when you said that Fusion has been a good thing for this town. But unfortunately, COVID played a role too. It shut things down for a while. Our youth had no place to go. But when they did have some place to go, they learned life skills. They learned how to be managers. They learned how to direct the council. We even had a youth council advisory committee at one point in time. So they were getting connected with the town. They were having something to do. And yes, the loitering downtown is bad, but it isn't as bad as it used to be. I remember many years ago when there was big groups that were hanging around downtown, not just by Carnegie Street, but down farther into our downtown core, and we're doing a lot of vandalism. So we're doing our best with our youth, and we want to make a bright future for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hughes?
Thank you. Great question. Yes, the youth are our future for sure. Fusion, yes, does a great job. Can they do more? Sure, they can. It has brought a lot of opportunity to the youth in town between 10 and 18. There are others that require something other than what Fusion offers. We have the skateboard park there. With the community recreation future planning. I can't remember the full name of it. It was interesting that there really wasn't a whole lot of requests from the youth in that, or their parents in that, in regards to a lot of different opportunities and a lot of different options. A bike pump track would be great, but that wasn't even, it might have been mentioned, but very low on the list. So we need to do a little bit more work. The youth need to step up. They need to ask. We don't know if they don't ask. The parents can ask. If they ask town council, they can take a serious.
Thank you. Mr. Lesser?
Thank you, Gary. I'm certainly glad that we do have Fusion, and Fusion has been a bright spot for us in this town. It has helped a lot of the teens, and again, it may not be for everyone. I'm going to switch a little bit. I sit on the museum board. One of the things pre-COVID that the museum board was trying to do was to offer a lot more family opportunities. Whether we were having a pumpkin fest, we just recently had a farmer's market down there, a number of items like that, where things were out for the young kids to be able to do so parents could come out and do those things. We need to continue working on that and doing more. And I'm going to put the word out to everybody here. The other thing that we do need with that sort of thing, though, is we need help as a town. You want these things, again, it comes back to dollars. We don't always have enough staff to run some of this stuff. If we have to pay for staff, it gets expensive. We could use more volunteers. So if you get a chance and you can give us an hour or two in a year, you wouldn't believe what a difference that makes. So again, I'm going to
Thank you. Ms. Ahrens?
I think it's important that Ingersoll invests in their youth, but that the youth also invest back in Ingersoll. So we as a council would have to try to find a way to encourage the youth to invest back into us with their time, with their attitudes, with their ambitions, so that they feel important.
Thank you. Mr. Carey?
They say that it takes a community to raise a child. And with that, I mean, we always have to provide the things out there that the youth wants. Fusion is a great solution to, but it's just part of it. Arenas, schools, museums, all this other stuff that we can fit together to create the minds of the future and develop them for us. It's all very important. So we must work together, look to see what youth wants, and do our best to provide it for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McHugh?
Still, to some of you guys, I am still one of these youth, so take me with a grain of salt here. But yes, no, honestly, I do believe we need to be providing a successful atmosphere for our youth to represent our community and not only thrive in our community. I was born and raised in this small town. I love this small town, and it's why I wanted to continue living here. And one of the reasons that I actually was successful is not every kid is a perfect kid growing up, but having that community around them to make sure that their parents are going to keep them in line is of utmost importance. And retaining that structure as we grow this community is just as important as providing these services to all these youth for them to take advantage of, because it is a two-part system, like some of these councillors have mentioned. We need a buy-in from those youth, but those services also have to exist to be bought into, right? It is a two-way street, but we're failing on both ends at this point.
Thank you. Ms. Van Kootenbossens?
One of those young people. Come on now. I'm going to go that way. The youth are our future. I have one, a 3-year-old, and I worked at Fusion. I was there when it started off, and we did have what was called a youth council. I think that's something that we need to reinvest in and get the kids to buy back in. If they bring forward the ideas, then they're buying in, and that's what it's all about. If they were part of making the rules that still are intact at Fusion, that is very important. Our rec facilities, our green spaces. We've talked on green spaces already tonight. All of those things things give our youth something to do in this community. It's also up to us as parents to get them involved in different things. It can't be just about what council is going to do for you. You have to be willing as a parent to get them involved and be involved yourself as well. I think that's the way it goes. You're right. It takes a community to raise a child.
Thank you. Ms. Bowden?
Thank you very much. My daughter is at Fusion every single day. We live very close to there. I think there could actually be a lot more teens there. At one time, they had a garden off to the side that used to be, people were working on, the students or the teens were working on through the summer. That's no longer happening. I haven't seen it happen in years. I feel like we need to offer opportunities because the youth don't actually know what they want, and their parents don't know what they want either at this point, especially with what's happened in the last 2 years. Groundwork, down grassroots, hands on the ground, lots of opportunities that can be developed that help to beautify and sustain the town, as well as getting everybody involved and connected to it so that they have something to be proud of that they will not destroy because they were a part of making it, and is something that can be passed on ongoing through the families over time and as it's stewarded. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hudson?
I couldn't agree with Dixie more. I love everything you just said. I've heard tonight about a youth council advisory committee, heard that twice tonight. I think that is a fabulous opportunity. I have my 13-year-old daughter here tonight, trying to get her involved in things like this. I think we need to ask the youth what they want. We need to listen, and then we need to proceed with what they want. We can't decide for them. We're not 13, we're not 12, we don't know. So let's ask, let's listen, and let's proceed forward. Let's try to give these kids something they can be proud of, a place to do it, and let's advocate for them and show them what they can do in the future as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Halliroo?
All right. Thank you for asking this question. This is very close to my heart. The youth in Ingersoll deserve more, for sure. And I've heard parents say they don't know what the kids need, and I've heard councillors say the kids need to tell us what they need. The problem is we've done it a certain way for so long. We hire the staff to run Fusion, and it's expensive to do so. We try to get the best talent for Fusion, and sometimes the best talents get bored when there's not enough structure. We need to provide structure for these kids. When I came to this town, I toured Fusion. It was the best place I'd ever seen. Most cities do not have what we have in Fusion, but most cities with empty rooms will actually open it up to the community where we've got loads of talent, and women and men who have skill to transfer to kids would book them and use them to offer activities. If there is a whole host of activities, kids will pick and choose what they need. These hosts will actually pay the town to use these facilities. So we've got space from the arena to Victoria Park to Fusion that people can actually rent, and we'll have categories of different activities.
Thank you. Mr. Lampkin?
Thanks, Gary Van Kooten, for the question. As I said before, I have an 8-year-old son. So a lot of things that I think about, I think through his eyes. We share a love for trees. In my campaign platform, I propose to implement and develop, with the support of council and community support, if we're interested, a heritage tree program where we will protect specifically some of the public trees. And what goes along with that program, I'm happy to share some of the details that I've researched. Number 2, Mr. David Cripps is running as an Ingersoll representative for your trustee vote for the Thames Valley District School Board. With his help, I hope to promote and integrate bicycling into the curriculum at the local public schools. I support the multi-use recreation center, building it. I'm hoping that the community will support it also. I used Victoria Park Community Center quite a bit growing up. I have terrific insight into bike trails.
Sorry, Mr. Lampkin. You guys are all well aware that I'm pretty much a stickler when it comes to times and whether we're over or not. Unfortunately, this brings us to the end of the ability time-wise that we have to ask questions. So we will begin now with our closing statements, and I'm very sorry to those who didn't get a chance to answer their questions, Matthew. You'll be fine. Come tomorrow. But we will start then in reverse order, and we'll start at the far end with Ms. Bowden.
Not yet. It's not ready yet. Hello? Thank you. Wow, okay. So thank you, everybody, for coming this evening. This has been a great opportunity to hear questions from everybody about what concerns are, which I figured as much. If I get elected into council, I'm looking to, reconnect the community, reconnect the youth, look at building a sustainable future, a resilient, sustainable future for our town itself, becoming more self-reliant, further away from the federal overreach and really becoming our own kind of, togetherness. I don't know what else to say about that, but basically really working on all levels of family, right from the education in the public schools and the high schools, and giving them opportunities, volunteer work, things like that, and really bringing that together even with the seniors. We're a whole community together. We should all be doing this together at every age. It should be concerns for everyone. It's really nice to hear all the answers here this evening and how much people are thinking about these things. It really is very direct here. Lots of concern for our future. So I also see that we can bring in more like forest, fruit trees, forest gardening, things like that in the green spaces as we were talking. Those are some of the things that I will be looking towards, and I look forward to seeing how this all goes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Van Kooten-Bosnes?
Thank you. I want to thank all of the other candidates who have come forward wanting to give to their community. It is truly amazing to have 11 other people show their love for this community just as much as I do, and I thank you for being here. No matter who is elected, we need to continue to put our entire community first before our own interests. It's not about what we want as candidates or councillors or anything else. It's about what the community needs. I'm also one of the 3 reps I alluded to before on the Physician Recruitment and Retention Committee, whose sole focus has been to retain the doctors we have and to try to bring more to our community, as your health is the biggest way that you can survive in this world. We've welcomed, as I said, 3 new doctors, and we're continuing to look for more ways to secure more so that your health care can become number 1. The multi-use rec center, it has been something that I've talked about for the last 16 years. I am hoping and praying that we can get multi-government funding. $32 million should not be put on the taxpayers of this community alone, and I won't do that to you. You would hate me, and I would have to leave this community. Attainable housing, not just for seniors, for families, for our youth, for everyone. That needs to be fought for, and having our county councillor advocate for us at county is where we need to continue to push that. We've heard about Fusion. I love Fusion. Have since since it started. Fusion's not without its faults, but we have great staff and volunteers there. And they're keeping it up to date, but I really do think that we need to bring back that youth council. For those who I've served with over the last 16 years, they've shown the compassion needed to make this community our hub of the earth. We may not have always agreed, which is good, because that definitely would not be representative of all of you, but we've always done what's in the best interest of the community. Whether it be
Thank you. Mr. McHugh?
So I simply believe in strong shared common goals for our whole community. So I want to ensure Ingersoll continues to be the great place to live, work, and call home, while continuing to retain the unique community atmosphere that has made our town the unique home it is to each and every one of us. The plan outlined by Mayor and Council, there needs to be a little more focus on the initiatives that actually serve our local constituents. This needs to be done through economic growth, industrial and residential, financial responsibility, which many of the councillors have touched on, increasing in initiatives that, as well as health and well-being. Of course, we need to be addressing the housing mix, and that is something that has been brought up by both the younger members, the poorer members, and then, of course, some of our senior citizens. And then Ingersoll needs a new recreation center. To build a new center requires not only municipal, but government and provincial funding. And it's also wise for us to be looking into private partnerships where they exist to be able to find the space within our community to actually build and use these, build this infrastructure. I'm sure none of you want to see that stuff built and pushed outside of our community. That is going to stop people from actually coming and using the downtown like the arena does currently. We want to make sure that we provide the opportunity to continue to do that because it is a huge boon for our community. It's something I used as a kid. It's something I'm sure my kids are going to use in the future, and hopefully my grandkids if she doesn't disown me.
Thank you, Mr. Carey.
Well, you've had the opportunity tonight to hear from us all, and now the decision falls with you to decide who you want to represent and work for you over the next 4 years. The municipal governments supply the largest volume of public services of any level of government, whether it's water, sewer, roads, recreational, public health. It's all something that falls within the municipality's responsibilities. I support all the services that we have in this community and would look at enhancing services in the future. I also support things of public health care. It's important that we have that and do what we can as a local municipality to pressure the federal and provincial governments that we are protected and have a health care system that we want, need, and deserve. Interested in long-term care and making sure that we have a long-term care system here that will look after our elderly and our seniors as they need. Also, the youth center that's so important that we've talked about tonight. Also, the housing. Whether you're homeless or whether you need affordable housing, all that stuff needs to be there for the people. It's much cheaper to look after housing than to look after homeless people. It's more costly because of the policing, because of the drugs, because of the health care, because of everything else. We need to work towards things for our seniors so they have homes, and also homes for our people that are less fortunate than ourselves. If given the opportunity, I would look forward to working for, with, and on behalf of you, and listening to all your concerns and working towards solutions for the next 4 years that is important to this town, this community, and this country. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Ahrens?
I'd like to thank everyone for the opportunity to be here to hear me, for the residents in the audience for attending, and also for Local 88 for providing this. What I've learned tonight is that there is a wide measure of concern, from the youth to the seniors, from green space to healthcare. There's so much that is on everyone's concern, and I would really like to be part of the concern, be part of the solution to these issues. Being a first-timer, it would be a huge learning curve, but it's a learning curve that I look forward to, and everybody get out there and vote.
Thank you. Mr. Lesser?
Thank you. I would like to say a couple thank yous. First, obviously, to Unifor 88 and the Real Estate Board for putting on this event. Most of all, I'll say to you in the audience for the residents who have come out to make this event work this evening. But I'd also like to say a thank you to the candidates for stepping forward to share their time and concerns about Ingersoll. You know, as a council, we have always tried to do what's best for Ingersoll. And whoever up here joins me on the next council, I'm sure will continue to keep that focus. And lastly, I'd like to say thank you especially to my wife, because without her ongoing support, trust me, I'd be a wreck. No. Anyways, in closing, all I'd like to say is, again, it has been an honor and a privilege to serve you for the past 16 years. If elected again, I will continue to work hard in large and small ways to make our town better. So remember to please submit your ballot, and I would certainly appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hughes?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Get closer.
Closer. Hello. There we go. Okay, I'm not going to dilly-dally this time, so I don't want to run out of time. I'm going to start with the thank yous, because, again, I don't want to run out of time. I'd like to thank my wife, Catherine, and our daughters for all their help and support through the past 4 years, actually 5 years after being elected to my first term of council. I'd also like to thank Unifor Local 88 and the Woodstock Ingersoll District Real Estate Board for their organizing this forum to introduce and question all the candidates running for Ingersoll Council. I'd also like to thank the others who have chosen to put their names forward as candidates. I wish you all the best of luck. As stated in my opening statement, I have a proven track record of working with all who are elected by you, the residents of Ingersoll, as well as achieving achieving the goals that I set for myself in the last election for the betterment of the community, the entire community. Council has this strategic plan in place to move us forward in the direction of sustainable growth over the next few years. Yes, I'd like to thank you all for my support. Thank you all for supporting me. Oh man, for supporting me in my first term, and humbly ask again for your support and vote in this election. I will work hard for all residents of Ingersoll, as I have for the past 4 years. Please contact me if you have any questions or concerns, and I still have some time, so I'm going to do a little song. Yeah, no. He cut me off.
Thank you. Mr. Bowman?
Thank you. I find it interesting, Rick, that as soon as you said singing, you got cut off. Anyway, it's always interesting to follow a bunch of experienced speakers. But one thing that I did find interesting was the two big segments in our community that came forward again tonight: our seniors and our youth. The seniors, who are our mentors, and the youth, who are our future. Whether it be the Fusion Youth Center, Victoria, or a Newmark Center, or whether it's the Seniors Complex. Two important segments. I want to again thank our host for this evening, and as the other people have said, all the best to the candidates running for office. But most of all, I want to thank you, the voters, for coming out this evening, especially to the new to town and those voting for the first time. As I stated in my opening remarks, I'm a lifelong resident of this town and a lifelong business owner in the downtown. As such, I have an invested interest in the prosperity and well-being of Ingersoll. I love my town and will continue to serve the community outside the role of councillor. As a business person, I support the local charities. As Mike Bowman, I continue to volunteer and support local groups and events, and you've heard we need volunteers this evening. So, as a community leader with over 30 years of business experience and a person who is passionate about my town, I feel I have much to offer and would welcome the opportunity to serve you once again as Ingersoll Town Councillor. So, on October the 24th, please cast your ballot and consider Mike Bowman for Ingersoll Town Council.
Thank you. Ms. White?
Mike, I'm going to up your vote and say drop it off in the mailbox before the 24th. My name is Pauline White, and you can vote by mail as well. I provide a leadership style that empowers people to take accountability for the work that they're doing. So with staff and the strategic plan, with volunteers moving forward, and giving them ownership to tackle all the goals that we have set for ourselves. And the goals would be seniors and youth. In this role, I will attain my success for families, adults, older adults, and seniors. It's our heritage, it's our future. So vote Pauline White. Thank you so much for coming. It's been an absolute pleasure the last 2 hours with this experience. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Lampkin?
Thank you. What an opportunity and what an honor. All it really takes is $100, and you can get up here and answer and let everybody know what your opinion is on everything. And you get the $100 back, too, if you're not successful. I don't know if you're successful if you get it back or not. I'm not sure. But really, so there's 12 of us up here, and my son, when I was telling him a little bit about this job, he had a lot of questions. He said, "Dad, how many people are in Ingersoll?" Well, like 15,000. And he said, "How come there's not 1,000 people running?" But seriously, right? If you start to do the math, so it's less than 0.1% of your population is represented by us 12 up in front of you here. So, and then my son went on to tell me that he didn't think that I would win. So he's usually quite clairvoyant, and he knows what he's talking about. Okay, I'm going to focus on just a couple things here. October 6th at 7 p.m., I'm hosting an event, and I have personally invited all of the candidates to attend. The public is welcome also. Carnegie Hall is our gracious host, October 6th at 7 p.m. One of my goals is to engage the community. I want to be your representative. I've dropped off my business cards. That takes a long time. I've put about 35 kilometers on my running shoes in the last week, and I've barely covered this quarter of town. I enjoy to argue, and I enjoy to explore ideas. I've got lots of energy. You can follow me on Strava if you know what that is. You can see some of my upcoming trail ideas, and I did a 5K run tonight just to clear my head, and maybe if you want to run or do anything crazy like that. I love Ingersoll. Thanks for the opportunity. Please vote then. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Halliroo?
Thank you, Ingersoll. I always say, hey, Ingersoll. I love this town, and I want to say it's a pleasure that I was given the opportunity. As a Canadian immigrant, it's a pleasure that you can be a part of any community you choose, and as long as your civic duties are, your obligations on your heart lie there, you can be proud to call yourself from there. I'm proud to call myself an Ingersollian. Because of me, so many eyeballs have been here. And I want to say, sometimes we don't know what we have because we don't know, compared to others, how lucky we are. I've seen how lucky we are compared it to cities. We just need to promote Ingersoll more. We need to attract people to come serve us. I've personally convinced my cousin, who was a doctor in Newfoundland, to come back to Brampton. I set up the office. It had nothing to do with funding, had nothing to do with the government. This was a private doctor who chose to relocate because I spoke so highly of Brampton. We lived at the end of the town before it became the middle of town. So this is how I see that we don't always have to rely on funding. I have experience in attracting people, in attracting tourism. I work in helping to, solve problems. The Fusion can run with maybe a few staff and a lot of volunteers. We just need to promote to the schools that this volunteer hours are necessary, and then make the schools, recommend kids to different committees across town, to different activities that we do. Let them be proud to earn their hours. As soon as we got here, I thought that was the culture here, and I was looking around for where my daughter could volunteer. She volunteered at the museum, proud to help name some streets that were over there in Harrisview. I mean, these are things that these kids look forward to. They don't need to know what they know. You don't know what they know, but if the opportunities and the choices are there, they'll pick them. And that's one of the things that I want to do. I want to help you create that excitement, that vibrancy. And one of the things we really lack in this town is the clear communication. Everyone needs to know how to do this. What do I need to do this? Not when people start doing something, then they get stuck because, oh, you can't do that or you can't do this. This is my personal experience, and I feel like we need more process clarity. We need more bylaw clarity in some areas.
Thank you. Ms. Hudson?
I want to start by saying thank you to all the voters that came out tonight to listen to us all. We super appreciate it. If elected councillor, I will listen and I will be your voice. As our town's growing needs change, we need to change with it. We need new faces, new ideas, and diversity is key. Through transparent communication, collaboration, we will find ideas that will keep our economic growth and development moving forward. With our current guiding principles and strategic pillars, we have a fantastic trajectory ahead, so let's continue to build a strong, sustainable, inclusive town. I truly never pictured myself as a politician. I've been an educator, I've been a supervisor, I've been a volunteer, I've been a leader, I have mentored, and I have been mentored. In many ways, I've always been an advocate, just in a different capacity. I've been looking out for the best interest of all ages throughout my life and my career of 30 years. For me, this will be an easy transition. The time has come for me now to be the voice of the people who want to be heard. I hear you, and I'm ready to move us forward with the change that we need. Albert Einstein once said that insanity was doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results. So let's make some significant and positive changes, and let's try something different this year. Together, let's create a future we can be proud of, and on October 24th, vote Shannon Hudson.
All right. Thanks, everybody, so much for being here tonight. It's been, I enjoyed this. This is probably, for the folks around here who know me, this is my like kid in a candy store time, because now I have a kill switch. No, I'm kidding. That has nothing to do with it. Well, it kind of does, a little bit. Anyway, I would like to thank very much all of the candidates that have come out this evening and taken some time to come and make sure that your voices are heard leading up to this election. You've all been very gracious, and I appreciate very much you embracing the new timing lights. And Mike, you can turn them off now. Thank you very much. Look at, he's trying to freak me out with the red light at the back. There are a few people that I really, really need to thank tonight, and top of my list is Jeff Lewis, from our committee. He's taken over and thankfully allowed me a little bit of freedom to come out there and enjoy it from that side of things. The rest of our UPC, our awesome communications committee that are here, Keith and Alan, and Mike for, playing with the lights. It's a new process for everybody. Before you go this evening, please, there is a whole table full of Timbits back there, and a whole bunch of coffee. Take some for the road if you like. That's great, fine and dandy. We'd be more than happy to have that. But it's very much appreciated that you were all here this evening, and to get your voices heard and to ask those questions that I'm sure that many other members of the community are wanting to ask, and you asked it for them. So thank you very, very much for your time this evening, and thank you, Rogers Cable, for making sure that this gets out to everybody in the community. Have a great evening. Have a safe drive.